Okay, I got 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call village board to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance in the minutes from the flag. This half of the board is gone. All right, let's move on to item 3 tonight. We have a public hearing. Do we have a sign-up sheet? Okay. You see this there? And as soon as that gets back, I'll read the statement of public notice.
There's only people signed in for the village board agenda. There's nobody signed in for other people.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, if you'd like to give the statement of notice.
The purpose of this hearing is for public review and comment regarding the proposed amendment to the Grafton Sanitary Sewer Service Area. Second one is waterways. The purpose of the hearing is for public review and comment regarding the adopted preliminary resolution to levy special assessments for sanitary sewer and water main extensions upon annexation into the village of Grafton for existing town properties benefiting from said improvements along Riverbend Road.
All right, thank you. Who wants to take this? Andrew or Jesse? Who's taking this one?
Okay, want just a brief
Go for it.
description? All right, we'll start with the first one regarding the proposed amendment to the Grafton Sanitary Sewer Service Area. So this is through Sewer Pack, who has kind of an area laid out of Grafton Sanitary Sewer Service Area and a small portion of the new Newman development of Riverbend Meadows along Port Washington Road and what will be Riverbend Road is not currently in that sanitary sewer service area. So this is a small amendment just to add that to our service area so that we get their approval going forward.
All right, thank you very much. It's a public hearing, so with that being said, we are looking always for feedback and comments to the particular public hearing that is being brought before us tonight. There's nobody on the sign-up sheet, so I'll open it up to the public for any comments, questions on this particular topic. Yes, sir. Can you get your name and address, please?
My name is Richard Yedis, 1435 Riverbend Road, Grafton. You're running a sewer down Riverbend Road, is that right?
Correct.
I want to know why they didn't run it straight down Port Washington Road and join the subdivision to the north.
Sure. So the sanitary sewer obviously has to run kind of downhill to get to a lift station to get all the way to the water treatment plant. And it needs to go down Riverbend Road to get to the new lift station that was built a few years ago. In this process, once that development gets fully built, the existing properties to the north at Falls Crossing will also connect and come this way down Riverbend Road.
You can't run it downhill going north?
No, the elevations don't work out with the existing sewer that's there.
We started excavating business in 1923. So I worked for every sewer contractor in all the counties around here. So I'm an expert at what you're talking about.
Okay.
Just so you know that that was a question that I thought would be a lot easier running north than coming through all our properties.
No, and everything that's north of there currently runs to a lift station on the east side, or kind of goes across the freeway and then works its way back. It's kind of a backward system right now.
Is there, on Falls Road, is there a pumping station?
We abandoned that one a couple years ago when we put the Riverbend Road one in. So that Riverbend Road one was upsized for this area to accommodate it in the future.
Okay, thank you much. Any other comments regarding the sewer service area amendment? Any comments from the board? That being said, we'll go ahead and close this portions of the public hearing. Let's move on to the next one, public hearing regarding adoption of the preliminary resolution to levy assessments. And if I could give the statement of vote.
The purpose of the hearing is for public review and comment regarding the adopted preliminary resolution to levy special assessments for sanitary sewer and water main extensions upon annexation into the village of Grafton for existing town properties benefiting from said improvements along Riverbend Road.
Who's taking this one, Jesse?
Take this one as well.
Take that one too? All right,
Sure.
go for it.
Sure. So this is extension of water and sanitary sewer to serve this new development along Port Washington Road and Riverbend Road. Existing sanitary and water is right near kind of the limits of the village right now, just east of Yuma Street. And we'll be extending the sanitary and the water within the roadway east to service this new development. All of the work is within the road, and then the road will be restored basically back to as is when we are done.
Okay. All right, again, public hearing, so we look for sign-up sheets. We have nobody on the sign-up sheet, so I'll open up the public for any comments, questions on this particular item. Hearing none, I'll open it up to the village board for any feedback on this particular item. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing and move on to the regular agenda. All right, item 5 is a motion to approve the 8/5 village board meeting minutes and to file the 7/8/2019 Board of Public Work meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second, as always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes. That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to item 6. Anybody in the audience wishing to be heard on a non-agenda item? Non-agenda item. Okay. Let's move on to item 7. Any materials have been distributed in the normal fashion. Let's move on to item 8, resolutions, ordinances, action items. Item 8 is a resolution amending the sanitary sewer service area just discussed. It's in the form of a resolution.
I'll offer.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second, final comments, questions on that item. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item B is report of public works, and that is a resolution approving the easements at well 2 and well 6 for the purpose of We Energies installing transformers and supplying secondary service.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, that's a motion and a second. Do you want that in the form of a resolution? This is what it says in the action. So I'll need the,
I'll offer.
okay, we have an offer, motion and a second. Final comments, questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on to item C, report of the Board of Public Safety. We have one item, and that is a motion to approve the report of public safety with the ordinance of no parking proposal amendment not be approved. Entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll make a second just to get it on the table. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the background of this particular topic. And I know it was based on a request that went to Public Safety Committee a couple months back, and then there was a review done and went back to Public Safety for with a recommendation. Who wants to do the background?
I can do the background. The issue had been identified to us several months back, and the individuals that were concerned were invited to the Public Safety Committee in July. The individuals had identified a legitimate public safety concern associated with essentially the times of drop-off and pickup in front of Kennedy School. Some of the challenges being faced were the driving lanes being encumbered by some of the buses, things of that nature. But the primary concern that was identified by the individuals living on 11th Avenue was that people were parking so incredibly close and encroaching on their driveways that they were actually having very difficult times navigating safely out of their driveways during these times, and even during the school day, because the area remained parked up to a certain extent. We took a look at it. I consulted, and from past experience, I am aware that drop-off and pickup is a challenging time at all of our schools. There was discussion at Public Safety with regard to the recommendation inhibiting parents who are legitimately running late and things of that nature from having to send their kids a little bit further down the block. It's been my experience that under those circumstances, sometimes children are running between cars to get across the street. The complainants also mentioned some of the challenges associated with the bicycles in the area. So having taken a look at it, I took a look at our current parking ordinances that were in place, and I thought it would be best to just curtail the parking there during the day for all concerned. There is other parking. There is a very well thought out student drop-off during the time around the back. There's additional parking to the north and things of that nature. So that was my recommendation. That's how we came to this point.
All right, and then if that was the discussion and recommendation from staff, discussion at public safety. Trustee Arbor, do you want to?
Sure, yeah, I can talk about that. We had some people come to public safety, and I see some of them in the audience. I'm sure they may want to speak. The committee listened to people's opinions. We had 9 pieces of email communication, which you all have copies of. I handed out an additional 2 that somehow did not get into the packet from public safety. A number of them are from people against the proposed new ordinance, and there's a number that are for the ordinance change. At the end of the discussion, the consensus of the Public Safety Committee was to make no change to the current parking ordinance for this area, 11th Street, between Maple and Broad. And that was a unanimous decision on the Committee of Public Safety.
Okay. All right, thank you. I do see representation from the school district. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, I do.
Just get your name and address, please.
Hello, I'm Craig Benderson. I'm the elementary principal at Kennedy Elementary, village resident, 1944 Bob Lake Avenue. We did receive a letter from Chief Lincoln about 2 weeks ago about the proposed parking restriction. I was able to attend the Public Safety Committee meeting last week on Tuesday and provide some public comment about the district perspective about the proposed ban on parking. Some of the board members in attendance tonight, vice members, were at the Public Safety Committee meeting, others were not, and I just wanted to share a little bit more and recap 3 main points from our school district about the proposal to ban parking. We believe that the idea of banning parking on 11th between Broad and Maple is a blanket approach that may be like overly appropriate at that point, citing 3 reasons, saying that many families and parents access the 11th Avenue Kennedy entrance throughout the day for small reasons such as dropping off hot lunches, forgotten items, as well as returning students to school who are late. It's a very frequented area, and we believe that restricting parking on 11th Avenue would restrict the access and diminish the access to the building. Also indicated that 4K midday pickup and drop-off occurs around the lunch block, and the 11th Avenue area is used extensively for that. We can't use the back drive because it's used for student recesses during the lunch hour that occurred at that time as well. And so we have parents of 4K children, in fact 52 coming up, who are depending on that area for a midday transportation change. The third reason was that we had already done some collaboration between the school district and also the village of Grafton about the parking and traffic conditions on 11th Avenue by widening 11th Avenue in front of much of Kennedy Elementary School by 10 or 12 feet. And this measure has greatly enhanced the parking and traffic conditions there. We feel that with our procedures in place, that we are offering a safe way to access Kennedy, that it's open, and that it also is mutually agreeable and friendly for our school, for our staff, and also for our residents. That being said, the Chief Linden had mentioned it is challenging, very difficult during pickups and drop-offs at school sites. And with that in mind, we'd like to take more of an incremental approach and work with our school staff and also our neighbors to address some of those concerns, such as staff members parking too close to residents' driveways, looking at some of those possible safety concerns of kids perhaps walking between cars, making sure that they use crosswalks and appropriate procedures for safety. But those are our 3 main points highlighted from our school district in collaboration with Mr. Nelson, our superintendent. We just wanted to make sure that our village board was aware of all those points.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Open up to the village board for any comments.
I've got a question. I looked on Google Maps today, and both sides of that road have yellow curbs. So it's
Portions that do.
Right.
like in front of the school, right? So would it be an option to potentially have parking like right in front of the school? Like have a few spots available? But so that because people shouldn't be, I heard Principal Gunderson say that staff was parking on the street. They should be parking in the lot, not in front. So if we just had a few spots available right in front of the school on the west side of the street, that would allow for the drop off, allow for people having to, bring in cold lunches and that type of thing. It'd be kind of an intermediate point of increasing safety, but still allowing some flexibility.
Currently, what you're referring to, Principal Gunderson, chime in if I'm inaccurate on this, is the cutout that the school district put in for the buses on the west side of the street directly in front. And those are used, I don't know if they're used at the new drop-off for the 4K. They're not. So that area should be not used as parking because it's used exclusively for the buses. That's what you're referring to.
Okay, yeah.
The other side of the street is, there's a small area that is zoned, no parking, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., but there's a discrepancy in the municipal code versus the signage. But it's a smaller area on the east side of the street.
I believe it's near the crosswalk.
Correct.
To allow for safe sight distance there for kids that do cross at the crosswalk.
In addition to that, one last thing, we had discussed some of the striping and the painting, and that's very good until it snows. And unfortunately, that can be difficult to point out when it's snowed.
Parking that, 11th Avenue has been an issue in front of Kennedy for a long time.
So, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not sure. Leonard.
Paul Lorgy, 1800 Cedar Street, village resident, Grafton School Board president. We did spend some time after the meeting, or after our portion of the meeting, public safety talking to the complainant and discussed ways that are beyond our control to perhaps make the site better, easier for parking, such as the yellow lines near the edges of the driveway, difficult in snow, but also, and I don't know who would be responsible for delineating parking spaces on the street. And they referenced a couple of areas where, believe it or not, in their estimation, there's no way you can get 3 cars in that particular area, but people were getting 3 cars in that area. I think if we actually striped off space on the street, people have to abide by the stripes on the street, but that could alleviate part of the problem, even in the winter, because the one that get painting the curbs start and end at the driveway might be challenging in the winter. Certainly, we are prepared to direct our staff absolutely to use the staff parking. That's why it's there. That should be some of the problems. And we think that the changes that were made as part of the referendum, developed in conjunction with the village, have significantly reduced some of the challenges on that street, both from the traffic perspective and parking perspective. So we hope that an incremental approach could be taken. Let's look at it another year. And yes, it's new to the neighbors. It's also new to the district as we work through some of the challenges from first year in operation. We can make it better moving forward.
I do think that, I agree with the fact that this is kind of a, a transition year for the parking. I think it's got to help to have the in-cut for the buses now. That was not there last year. That was not there with, prior to the remodeling. That has got to help. And I also think that, the rest of the people that live on the block, the other residents, some of whom letters are in this packet, want to be able to park out in front of their home during the day here and there. Not to have it completely restricted Monday through Friday, 7 to 4, so there's no parking. To me, that's an extreme.
How does the board feel about working with the district on an incremental approach? I'll remove my second. entertain a motion to table for further work with the school district on the solutions for parking on 11th Avenue.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's work together.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, department and officers reports, unemployment insurance update.
In your package, you should have a memo to the board regarding the situation. I don't know how in-depth you want me to get, kind of reiterates what we discussed, or what was presented when the question came up, but quickly, a paid-on-call, part-time firefighter moved out of the area, moved to the state of Oregon, filed for unemployment out there. We did receive a notice from the state of Wisconsin back in, and I don't remember, but early in the spring. Staff tried to contact, again, at that time, when it was brought to my attention, the 3 clarifications is what I directed staff to do. We want to know what time period this covers, we want to know the maximum exposure of the village, and we want to know why we were never reported, with a chance to appeal, which is normally what's done in the state of Wisconsin. So basically, staff tried 2 or 3 times to contact Oregon, contact Wisconsin. We were basically told it was the other state's issue. Eventually, it got to that $1,500 amount. We decided to process, because at one time we were told it's not appealable. But the next day, staff contacted somebody at the state of Wisconsin who had all this information at their hands and provided screenshots and various pieces of information, but at the bottom line said, since it's from a different state, you can't appeal it. But they provide some context to the fact that, yes, we weren't notified, there was an unfortunate circumstance where somebody passed away, they divvied up that person's duties, and we did present the 3 things that we believe that we should have been told or at least informed of. They said they would forward that on to their supervisor. Lo and behold, today, we got our notice, so something kind of worked, but basically it does say that it's unappealable. But we have been provided the information. Unfortunately, the state of Oregon is the most liberal state for unemployment. They keep claims open for 2.5 years from the original claimant, so we're exposed for 2.5 years.
I think that's an excellent explanation. One of the, I think some of the concern from the previous meeting wasn't necessarily about the facts. I think it was about the fact that it was something new that we couldn't answer all the questions about for the board, is why we had this expense. So I think, as we move forward, when we run into these kinds of things, either be prepared to speak to them, or let's take them out of the part of the bills and let's wait till we can. Does that make sense? Any other questions on that?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
I mean, my question about this was that we had a part-time employee that were paying a huge unemployment claim. That was,
Yeah.
that was my issue with it.
Correct. He, over the period of November, I forget, I don't think it's written on here, but he had earned about $15,000 over the period that his claim was made, or that applied to the state of Wisconsin. Yep, $15,664.80 over the 52-week period that the claim was. And then 62% of his wages reported to the state of Oregon were from the village of Grafton, 38% from his Oregon employer. So the unemployment of $390, I think it is, a week. Sorry, $590 a week. We were responsible for 62% of that as long as he kept on filing for unemployment. We haven't received a claim in about 3 months, so hopefully he's working and this is the last we see of it.
Can I ask one question? Okay, so he made $15,664.80 between November 24th of 2018, January 5th of 19.
No, that's the period that he filed for unemployment in the state of Oregon.
Okay.
It was basically, I believe, April of 17 to April of 18.
Okay, have you verified that the wages are correct?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Any other department and officers' reports? All right, let's move on to licenses, entertain a motion for the approval of the one license that is mentioned with their place of employment.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 11 is report of the bills. Entertain a motion for the approval of village expenditures, $547,951.51.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions on the bills?
I have one. Page 15. Page 15 on to 16. For Taylor Computer Services, monthly server monitoring for $438 just for the police department. That-
I don't have a specific for that. We did have some setup, but I can research that and respond back.
Well, okay.
That's an
Is that-
atypical number.
Right, that was my concern.
Right.
That-
And my guess is it includes a little support.
Right. I can research it and have the administrator.
2-3 hours maybe, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's an atypical
Just-
number.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 12, motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.